sorry for that. For your sake. I don't play accurately. Anybody can play accurately, but I play with a wonderful expression. As far as the piano is concerned, sentiment is my forte. I leave science for life.
Of course, sir.
Speaking of the science of life, have you got the cucumber sandwiches cut for Lady Bracknell?
Yes, sir.
By the way, Lane, I see in my book that on Thursday evening when Lord Shorman and Mr. Worthing were dining with me, 8 bottles of champagne are entered as having been consumed.
Yes, sir. 8 bottles and a pint.
Why is it that in a bachelor's establishment the servants invariably drink the champagne? I ask merely for information.
I attribute it to the superior quality of the wine, sir. I've often observed that in married households, the champagne is rarely of a first-rate brand.
Good heavens, is marriage so demoralizing as that?
I believe it is a very pleasant state, sir. I've had very little experience of it myself. I was only married once, you see, and that was the result of a rather unfortunate misunderstanding between myself and a younger person.
I don't know that I'm much interested in married life, Lane.
No, sir, it's not very interesting. I rarely think about it myself.
Very natural, I'm sure. Thank you, Lane, that will do.
Thank you, sir.
Lane's views on marriage seem somewhat lax. Really, if the lower orders do not set us a good example, then what on earth is the use of them? They, as a class, seem to have absolutely no sense of moral responsibility.
Mr. Ernest Worthing.
How are you, dear Earnest? What brings you up to town?
Oh, pleasure, pleasure. What else should bring anyone anywhere? Eating as usual, I see, Algy.
I believe it is customary in good society to take some slight refreshment at 5 o'clock. Where have you been since Thursday?
In the country.
What on earth do you there?
When one is in town, one amuses oneself. When one is in the country, one amuses others. It is excessively boring.
And who are these people you amuse?
Oh, neighbors, neighbors.
Got nice neighbors in your part of, Shropshire?
Perfectly horrid. Never speak to one of them.
How immensely you must amuse them. Shropshire is your county, is it not?
Hey, Shropshire? Yes, of course. Hello. Why all these cups? Why cucumber sandwiches? Why such reckless extravagance in one so young? Who is coming to tea?
Oh, merely Aunt Augusta and Gwendolyn.
How perfectly delightful.
Yes, that's all very good and well. However, I don't think Aunt Augusta will quite approve of your being here.
May I ask why?
Originally, the way you flirt with Gwendolyn is perfectly disgraceful. It's almost as bad as the way Gwendolyn flirts with you.
I am in love with Gwendolyn. I've come up to town expressly to propose to her.
Thought you'd come up for pleasure. All that business.
How utterly unromantic you are.
I don't think anything very romantic in proposing. It's perfectly romantic to be in love. There's nothing romantic about a definite proposal. Why, one may be accepted, one usually is, I believe, and then the excitement is all gone. The very essence of romance is uncertainty. If I ever get married, I'll be sure to try to forget the facts.
I have no doubt about that. The divorce court was specially invented for those whose memories are so curiously constituted.
There's no use speculating on that subject. Divorces are made in heaven. Please do not touch the cucumber sandwiches. I ordered them specially for Aunt Augusta.
But you have been eating them all the time.
That's a different matter entirely. She is my aunt. Have some bread and butter. The bread and butter is for Gwendolyn. Gwendolyn is devoted to bread and butter.
And very good bread and butter, it is true.
Dear boy, you need not eat as if you were going to eat at all. You behave as if you were married to her already. You are not married to her already. I don't think you ever will be.
Why on earth do you say that?
Well, in the first place, girls never marry the men they flirt with. Girls don't think it right.
Oh, that is nonsense.
It isn't. It's a great truth. It accounts for the extraordinary number of bachelors one sees all over the place. In the second place, I don't give my consent.
Your consent?
Yes, Gwendolyn is my first cousin. Before I allow you to marry her, you'll have to clear up this whole question of Cecily.
Cecily? What on earth do you mean? What do you mean, Algy, by Cecily? I don't know anyone by the name of Cecily.
Bring me that cigarette case Mr. Worthing left in the smoking room the last time he dined here.
Yes, sir.
Do you mean to say you've had my cigarette case all this time? I wish to goodness you'd let me know. I had been writing frantic letters to Scotland Yard about it. I was very nearly offering a large reward.
Well, I wish you would. I happen to be more than usually hard up.
There's no good offering a reward now that the thing is found.
Well, I must say, I think that rather mean of you, Ernest. However, it makes no matter, for now that I look at the inscription inside, I see that the thing isn't yours after all.
Of course it's mine. You've seen me with it 100 times. and you have no right whatsoever to read what is written inside. It is a very ungentlemanly thing to read a private cigarette case.
It's absurd to have hard and fast rules about what one should read and what one shouldn't read. More than half of modern culture depends on what one shouldn't read.
I'm quite aware of the fact, and I don't intend to discuss modern culture. It isn't the sort of thing one should talk of in private. I simply want my cigarette case back.
Yes, but this isn't your cigarette case. This cigarette case is a gift from someone named name was Cecily, and you said you don't know anyone with that name.
Well, if you want to know, Cecily happens to be my aunt.
Your aunt?
Yes, charming old lady she is too. Lives at Tunbridge Wells. Just give it back to me, LG.
Yes, but why does your aunt, who lives at Tunbridge Wells, call herself Little Cecily? From Little Cecily with her fondest love.
My dear fellow, what on earth is there in that? Some aunts are tall, some aunts are not tall. Surely that is a matter that an aunt may be allowed to decide for herself. You seem to think that every aunt should be exactly like your aunt. That is absurd. Just give it back to me, LG.
Yes, but why does your aunt call you her uncle? There's no objection I make to her being a small aunt, but my aunt, no matter what her size may be, should call her own nephew her uncle? I can't quite make out. Besides, your name isn't Jack at all, it is Earnest.
It isn't Ernest. It's Jack.
But you have always told me it was Earnest. I've introduced you to everyone as Earnest. You look as if your name was Earnest, and you answer to the name Earnest. You're the most earnest-looking person I ever saw. It is perfectly absurd you're saying your name isn't Earnest. It's on your cards. Here's one of them now. Mr. Ernest Worthing, before the Albany. I'll keep this as proof that your name is Ernest if ever you try tonight to me, or to Gwendolyn, or to anybody else.
Well, my name is Ernest in town, and Jack in the country. And the cigarette case was given to me in the country.
Yes, but that does not explain why your little aunt who lives at Tunbridge Wells calls you her dear uncle. Come on, old boy, you must run out the thing out at once.
My dear fellow, you talk exactly as if you were a dentist. It is very vulgar to talk like a dentist when one isn't a dentist. It produces a false impression.
Well, that is exactly what dentists do. Now, I may mention I've always suspected you of being a confirmed and secret Bunburyist. I'm quite sure of it now.
Bunburyist? What on earth is a Bunburyist?
I'll reveal to you the meaning of that incomparable expression just as soon as you are kind enough to inform me why you are Ernest in town and Jack in the country.
Well, produce my cigarette case first.
Here it is. Now produce your explanation, and pray make it improbable.
My dear fellow, there is nothing improbable about my explanation at all. In fact, it is perfectly ordinary. Old Mr. Thomas Cardew, who adopted me when I was a little boy, made me, in his will, guardian to his granddaughter, Miss Cecily Cardew. Cecily, who addresses me as her uncle, from motives of respect that you could not possibly appreciate, lives at my place in the country, under the charge of her admirable governess, Miss Prism.
Where is that place in the country, by the way?
That is nothing to you, dear boy. You are not going to be invited. I may tell you quite candidly that the place is not in Shropshire.
I suspected as much. I've Bunburied all over Shropshire on 2 separate occasions. Now, go on. Why are you Ernest in town and Jack in the country?
My dear fellow, I don't know whether you will be able to understand my true motives. You are hardly serious enough. When one is placed in the position of guardian, one must adopt a very high moral tone on all subjects. And as a high moral tone can hardly be said to conduce very much to either one's health or one's happiness, in order to get up to town, I have always pretended to have a younger brother of the name of Earnest, who lives in the Albany and gets into the most dreadful scrapes. That, my dear friend, is the whole truth, pure and simple.
The truth is rarely pure and never simple. Modern life would be tedious if it were either, and modern literature a complete impossibility.
That wouldn't be at all a bad thing.
Literary criticism is not my forte. Don't try it. Leave that to the people who knocked down at university. They do it so well in the daily papers. Now, what you really are is a Bunburyist. I was quite right in saying you're a Bunburyist. You're one of the most advanced Bunburyists I know.
What on earth do you mean?
Well, you have invented a very useful younger brother called Earnest in order that you may be able to escape down to London, up to London whenever you choose. I have invented an invaluable permanent invalid called Bunbury in order that I may be able to go down to the country whenever I choose. Bunbury is perfectly invaluable. If it weren't for Bunbury's extraordinary bad health, for instance, I wouldn't be able to dine with you tonight at Willis's, for really I've been engaged to Aunt Augusta for more than a week.
I haven't asked you to dine with me anywhere tonight.
I know, you are absurdly careless about sending out invitations. It's very foolish of you. Nothing annoys people so much as not receiving invitations.
You had much better dine with your Aunt Augusta.
Nothing will make me do anything of the kind. To begin with, I dine there on Monday, and once a week is quite often enough to dine with one's own relations. In the second place, whenever I dine there, I'm treated as a member of the family and sent down with either no woman at all or two. Third place, I know exactly who she will seat me next to. She will seat me next to Mary Farkyar, who flirts with her own husband across the dinner table. That is not very pleasant. In fact, it's not even decent. That sort of thing is on the rise. The number of women in London who flirt with their own husbands is perfectly scandalous. It looks so bad and is simply washing one's own clean linens in public. Besides, now that I know you to be a confirmed Bunburyist, I naturally want to talk to you about Bunbury. I want to tell you the rules.
I'm not a Bunburyist at all. If Gwendolyn accepts me, I'm going to kill my brother. In fact, I think I'll kill him in any case. Cecily is a little too much interested in him. It is rather a bore. So, I'm going to get rid of Ernest. And I strongly advise you to do the same with with your invalid friend, who has the absurd name.
Nothing will induce me to part with Bunbury. And if you ever get married, which seems to me to be extremely problematic, you will very kindly want to know Bunbury. A man who marries without knowing Bunbury has a very tedious time of it.
Oh, that is nonsense. If I marry a charming girl like Gwendolyn, and she's the only girl I ever saw in my life that I would marry, I certainly won't want to know Bunbury.
Well, then your wife will. What you don't seem to understand is that in a marriage, 3 is company, and 2 is none.
That, my dear young friend, is the theory that the corrupt French drama has been propounding for the last 50 years.
Yes, and that the happy English home has proven in half the time.
Don't try to be cynical. It's perfectly easy to be cynical.
It isn't perfectly easy being anything nowadays. There's such a beastly competition about. Ah, that must be Aunt Augusta. Only relatives. Or creditors. Ever ring in that Wagnerian manner? Now, I get her out of the way for 10 minutes so that you may have an opportunity of proposing to Gwendolyn. Will you dine with me tonight at Willis's?
I suppose so, if you want to.
Yes, but you must be serious about it. I hate people who are not serious about meals. They're so shallow of them.
Lady Brehmer and Miss Fairfax.
Good afternoon, dear Algernon. I hope you're behaving very well.
I'm feeling very well, Aunt Augusta.
That's not quite the same thing. In fact, two things rarely go together.
Dear me, you are smart.
I'm always smart. Aren't I, Mr. Worthing?
You are quite perfect, Miss Fairfax.
I hope I am not that. It would leave no room for developments, and I intend to develop in many directions. I'm sorry for a little bit late, Algernon. I was obliged to call on dear Lady Harbury. I hadn't been there since her poor husband's death. I never saw a woman so altered. She looks quite 20 years younger. And now I'll have a cup of tea and one of those nice cucumber sandwiches you promised me.
Certainly, Aunt Augusta.
Won't you sit over here, Gwendolyn?
Oh, no, I'm quite comfortable where I am, Mom.
Good heavens! Lane! Why are there no cucumber sandwiches? I ordered them specially!
There were no cucumbers at the market today, sir. I went down twice.
No cucumbers?
No, sir. Not even for ready money.
Thank you, Wayne. That will do.
Thank you, sir.
Are you distressed about there being no cucumbers in the market? Not even for ready money.
It really makes no matter, Algernon. I've had some crumpets with Lady Harbury, who seems to me to be living entirely for pleasure now.
I hear her hair has turned quite gold from grief.
It has changed color, though from what cause I, of course, cannot say. Thank you. Quite a treat for you tonight, Algernon. I'm going to send you down to Mary Farquhar. Such a nice woman, so attentive to her husband. It's delightful to watch them.
I'm afraid, Aunt Augusta, I must give up the pleasure of dining with you tonight after all.
I hope not, Algernon. It would put my table completely out. Your uncle would have to dine upstairs. Fortunately, he's accustomed to that.
It is a great bore, and I need hardly say a terrible disappointment. However, I've just received a telegram that my poor friend Bunbury is very ill again. They seem to think that I should be with them.
It is very strange. This Mr. Bunbury seems to suffer from curiously poor health.
Oh yes, poor Bunbury is a dreadful invalid.
Well, I must say, Algernon, that it's high time Mr. Bunbury made up his mind whether he was going to live or die. This shilly-shallying over the question is absurd. Nor do I approve of the modern sympathy with invalids. I consider it morbid. Illness is hardly the type of thing to be encouraged, and others help is the primary duty of life. I'm always telling that to your uncle, not that he ever seems to take any notice as far as any improvement in his ailments goes. I should be much obliged if you would ask Mr. Bunbury from me not to have a relapse on Saturday, for I rely on you to arrange my music. It's my last reception, and one wants something that will encourage conversation, particularly at the end of the season, when everyone has already said practically whatever they had to say, which in most cases was probably not much.
Yes, I will speak to Bunbury, if he is still conscious. And I think I can promise he will right by Saturday. Now you see, the music is a great difficulty. If one plays bad music, people don't talk. But if one plays good music, people don't listen. So if you'll come into the next room with me for a moment, I'll run over the program I've drawn out.
Thank you, Algernon. It is very thoughtful of you. I'm sure the program will be delightful after a few expurgations. French songs I simply cannot allow. People always seem to think they're improper and either look shocked, which is vulgar, or laugh, which is worse. But German sounds to me a thoroughly respectable language, and indeed I believe it is so. Gwendolyn, you will accompany me.
Certainly, Mama.
Charming day it has been, Miss Fairfax.
Pray, don't talk to me about the weather, Mr. Worthing. Whenever someone talks to me about the weather, I'm quite certain they mean something else, and that makes me so nervous.
I do mean something else.
I thought so. In fact, I'm never wrong.
And I would like to be allowed to take advantage of Lady Bracknell's temporary absence.
I would certainly advise you to do so. Mama has a habit of coming back into her room suddenly that I've often had to speak to her about.
Miss Fairfax, ever since I met you, I have admired you more than any girl I have ever met since I met you.
Yes, I am aware of the fact, and I often wish that, in public at any rate, you'd been more demonstrative. Ever since I met you, I've been far from indifferent to you. You've always had an irresistible fascination to me. We live, as I hope you know, Mr. Worthing, in an age of ideals. The fact is constantly mentioned in the more expensive of monthly magazines and has reached even the provincial pulpits. And it has always been an ideal of mine to marry someone by the name of Earnest. The name inspires absolute confidence. Ever since my cousin Algernon told me he had a friend called Earnest, I knew I was destined to love you.
You really love me, Gwendolyn?
Passionately.
Darling, you don't know how happy you've just made me.
Oh, my own Earnest.
But you don't mean to say you couldn't love me if my name wasn't Earnest.
But your name is Earnest.
Yes, but assuming my name was something else, do you mean to say you couldn't love me then?
That is clearly a metaphysical speculation, and like most metaphysical speculations, has very little reference to the actual facts of life as we know them.
Well, personally, darling, to speak quite candidly, I don't much care for the name of Earnest. I don't think the name suits me at all.
It suits you perfectly. It's a divine name. It has a music of its own. It produces vibrations.
Well, darling, to speak quite candidly, I think there are other much nicer names. I think Jack, for instance, a charming name.
Jack? No, I don't like the name Jack. There's very little music in it, if any at all. It does not thrill. It produces absolutely no vibrations. I've known several Jacks, and they've all, without exception, been more than usually plain. And besides, Jack is a notorious domesticity for John, and I pity any woman married to a man called John. She has probably never been allowed to know the entrancing pleasure of a single moment's solitude. The really only safe name is Earnest.
Darling, I must get christened at once. I mean, we must be married at once. There's no time to be lost.
Married, Mr. Worthing.
Well, surely, you know that I love you, and you led me to believe that you were not absolutely indifferent to me.
I adore you, but you haven't proposed yet. We haven't talked about marriage. The subject hasn't even been touched upon.
Well, may I propose to you now?
I would certainly advise you to do so, and to spare you any possible disappointment, I must inform you that I am fully determined to accept you.
Gwendolyn!
Yes, Mr. Worthing? got to say to me?
You know what I've got to say to you.
Yes, but you don't say it.
Gwendolyn, will you marry me?
Yes, darling. How long have you been on about it? I'm afraid you have very little experience in how to propose.
My own one, I have never loved anyone in the world but you.
Yes, but men often propose for practice. I know my brother Gerald does. My girlfriends often tell me so. What wonderfully brown eyes you have, Ernest, and quite brown. I hope you'll always look at me like that, especially when there are other people present.
Mr. Worthing, right, sir, for this semi-recumbent posture. It is most indecorous.
Mama, I must beg you to retire. This is no place for you. Besides, Mr. Worthing has not quite finished.
Finished what, may I ask?
I am engaged to be married to Mr. Worthing, Mama.
Pardon me. You are not engaged to anybody. When you do become engaged to somebody, I, or your father, should his health permit him, will inform you of the fact. The engagement should come upon a young girl as a surprise, pleasant or unpleasant as the case may be. It is always the sort of thing she could be allowed to decide for herself. And now, I have a few questions to put to you, Mr. Worthing. While I'm making these inquiries, you, Gwendolyn, will wait for me below in the carriage.
Mom.
The carriage, Gwendolyn. Gwendolyn, carriage.
Yes, Mama.
You can take a seat, Mr. Worthing.
Thank you, Lady Bracknell. I prefer standing.
I feel bound to inform you are not down on my list of eligible young men, although it's the same list that the dear Duchess of Bolton has. We work together, in fact. However, I am prepared to enter your name should your responses be what a truly affectionate mother requires. Do you smoke?
Well, yes, I must admit I smoke.
I'm glad to hear it. A man should always have an occupation of some kind. There are far too many idle men in London as it is. How old are you?
29.
Very good age to be married at. Now, I am of the opinion that a man who desires to get married should either know everything or nothing. Which do you know?
I know nothing, Lady Bracknell.
I am pleased to hear it. Anything that tampers with that natural ignorance. Ignorance is a delicate, exotic fruit. You touch it and the bloom is gone. The whole theory of modern education is radically unsound. Unfortunately, in England at any rate, education produces no effect whatsoever. It would prove a serious danger to the upper classes and probably lead to acts of violence in Grosvenor Square. What's your income?
Between 7,000 and 8,000 a year.
Land or in investments?
In investments, chiefly.
That is not unsatisfactory. Between the duties expected of one during one's lifetime and the duties exacted from one after one's death, land has ceased to be either a profit or a pleasure. It gives one position and prevents one from keeping it up. That is all that can be said about land.
Well, I own a house in the country with some land, of course, attached to it. About 1,500 acres, but I don't depend on that for my real income. In fact, as far as I can make out, the poachers are the only ones who make anything out of it.
Country house. How many bedrooms? Well, that point can be cleared up afterwards. You have a townhouse, I hope. A girl with a simple, unspoiled nature like Gwendolyn could hardly be expected to reside in the country.
Well, I own a house in Belgrave Square, but it is let to the Lady Bloxham. Of course, I can get it back whenever I like, at 6 months' notice.
Lady Bloxham? I don't know her.
Oh, she goes about very rarely. She's a lady considerably advanced in years.
Nowadays, there is no guarantee of respectability of character. What number in Belgrave Square?
149.
The unfashionable side. I thought there was something, but fortunately, it could easily be altered.
Do you mean the fashion or the side?
Both are necessary, I presume. What are your politics?
Well, I'm afraid I must admit, I really have none. I am a liberal unionist.
Oh, they count as Tories. They dine with us or come in the evening at any rate. Now on to minor matters. Are your parents living?
I have lost both my parents.
Both? To lose one parent, Mr. Worthing, could be regarded as a misfortune, but to lose both looks like carelessness. Father, he was evidently a man of some wealth. Was he born out of what the radical papers call the earthquake of commerce, or did he rise from the ranks of the aristocracy?
Well, the
fact is, Lady Bracknell, I said I had lost both my parents. But it would be nearer the truth to say that they seem to have lost me. I don't actually know who I am by birth. I was found.
Found?
Yes, the late Mr. Thomas Cardew, an old gentleman of a very charitable and kindly disposition, found me and named me Worthing because he happened to have a first-class ticket to Worthing in his pocket at the time. Worthing is a place in Sussex. It is a seaside resort.
And where did this elderly charitable gentleman with a ticket to his seaside resort find you?
In a handbag.
A handbag!
Yes, Lady Bracknell, I was found in a somewhat large, black leather handbag with handles to it. An ordinary handbag, in fact.
And in what locality does Mr. James or Thomas Cardew find this ordinary handbag?
In the cloakroom at Victoria Station. It was given to him as a stake for his own.
A cloakroom at Victoria Station?
Yes, the Brighton line.
The line is immaterial! Mr. Worthing, I must confess, I am somewhat bewildered by what you've just told me. To be born, or at any rate, read in a handbag, whether it had handles or not, seems to me to display contempt for the ordinary decencies of family life that reminds one of the worst excesses of the French Revolution. And I suppose you know what that unfortunate movement led to? Now, as regards the locality in which the handbag was found, the cloakroom of a railway station might serve to hide social discretion, and indeed has probably been used for that purpose before now, but it could hardly be regarded as an assured basis for a recognized position in good society.
May I ask then what you would advise me to do? I need hardly say I would do anything to ensure Gwendolyn's happiness.
I would strongly advise you, Mr. Worthing, to try and acquire some relations as soon as possible, and to make a definite effort to find at any rate one parent of either sex before the season is quite over.
Well, I don't see any possible way I can do that. I can produce the handbag at any moment. It is in my dressing room at home. I really think that should satisfy you, Lady Bracknell.
Me, sir? What has it to do with me? You could hardly expect that I, Lord Bracknell, would allow our only daughter, a girl brought up with the utmost of care, to marry into a cloakroom and form an alliance with a parcel. Good morning, Mr. Worthing.
Good morning!
For goodness sake, Algie, don't play that ghastly tune! How idiotic you are!
Didn't it go off all right, old boy? You don't mean to say Gwendolyn refused you. I notice the way she has. She's always refusing people. I think it most ill-natured of her.
Oh, Gwendolyn is as right as a trivet. As far as she is concerned, we are engaged to be married. Her mother, however, is perfectly unbearable. Never met such a gorgon. I don't know what a gorgon is like, but I am quite sure that she is one. In any case, she is a monster, without being a myth, which is rather unfair. Pardon me, Algie. I suppose I shouldn't talk about your own aunt in this way before you.
My dear boy, I love hearing my relations abused. It is the only thing that makes me put up with them at all. Relations are a tedious pack of people who haven't got the remotest knowledge of how to live, nor the smallest instinct about when to die.
Oh, that is nonsense.
It isn't.
Well, I won't argue about the matter. You always want to argue about things.
That is exactly what things were originally made for.
Upon my word, if I thought that, I'd shoot myself.
By the way,
You don't suppose there's any chance of Gwendolyn becoming like her mother in about 150 years, do you, Algie?
all women become like their mothers. That's their curse. No man does. That's his.
That clever?
That's perfectly phrased, and quite as true as any observation in civilized life should be.
I'm sick to death of cleverness. You can't go anywhere without seeing a clever person nowadays. The thing has become a public nuisance. I wish to goodness we had a few fools left.
We do.
Really? I should extremely like to meet them. What do they talk about?
The fools? Oh, about the clever people, of course.
What fools?
Have you told Gwendolyn about your being Earnest in town and Jack in the country?
Oh, my dear fellow, the truth isn't the sort of thing one tells to a nice, sweet, innocent girl like that, what extraordinary ideas you have about the way to behave to a woman.
The only way to behave to a woman is to make love to her, if she is pretty, and to someone else if she is plain.
Oh, that is nonsense.
But what about your brother? What about the profligate Earnest?
Oh, before the end of the week, I shall have got rid of him. I shall say he died in Paris of apoplexy. Lots of people die of apoplexy quite suddenly, don't they?
Yes, my dear boy, but it's hereditary, the sort of thing that runs in families. You'd much better say a severe chill.
You are sure that a severe chill is not hereditary? Very well then. My poor brother Ernest is carried off suddenly in Paris by a severe chill. That gets rid of him.
But I thought you said that Miss Carter was a little bit too much interested in your brother. Won't she feel his loss a great deal?
Oh, Miss Carter is not a silly, romantic girl, I'm glad to say. She has got a capital appetite, enjoys long walks, and pays no attention at all to her lessons.
I should rather like to meet Cecily.
I will take very good care that you never do. She is excessively pretty, and she's only just 18.
Have you told Gwendolyn about your having an excessively pretty ward who is only just 18?
Oh, one doesn't blurt these things out to people. Gwendolyn and Cecily are perfectly certain to be extremely great friends. I will bet you anything you like that half an hour after they have met, they will be calling each other sister.
Women only do that after they have called each other a lot of other things first. Yeah, we really must go and dress if we're going to get a good table of Willis's. You know it's nearly 7?
Oh, it is always nearly 7.
Well, I'm hungry.
I never knew you when you weren't.
What shall we do after dinner? Perhaps we could go to the theater?
Oh, no, I loathe listening.
Well then, we could go to the club.
Oh, no, I hate talking.
Well, we could trot around the Empire at 10?
Oh, no, I can't bear looking at things. It is so silly.
Well then, what shall we do?
Nothing.
It's particularly difficult work doing nothing. However, I don't mind hard work where there's no definite object involved.
Miss Fairfax?
Gwendolyn, upon my word!
Algy, kindly turn your back. I have something very particular to say to Mr. Ward.
Gwendolyn, I really don't think I can allow this.
Algy, you always adopt a strictly immoral attitude toward life. You're not quite old enough to do that.
Gwendolyn, darling.
Mr. Worthing, I fear we may never be married. From the look on Mama's face, I'm afraid we never shall. Few parents nowadays pay any regard to what their children say to them. The good, old-fashioned respect for the young is fast dying out. Any influence I had over Mama I lost by the age of 3. But though she may prevent us from becoming man and wife, and I may marry others and marry often, nothing she can do will ever alter my eternal devotion to you.
My own darling.
The romantic story of your origin, as relayed to me by Mama with unpleasing comments, has stirred the deepest fibers of my nature. Your Christian name has an irresistible fascination to me, and the simplicity of your character is exquisitely incomprehensible. Your town address I have, but what is your address in the country?
The Manor House, Woolton, Hertfordshire.
There's good postal service there, I suppose. It may become necessary to do something desperate. Of course, that would require serious consideration. I will communicate with you daily.
My own one.
How long are you in town?
Till Monday.
Good. Algy, you may turn around now.
Thanks, I've turned around already.
Good. You may also ring the bell.
You will let me see you to your carriage, my own darling.
Certainly.
I will see Miss Fairfax out.
Of course, sir.
A glass of sherry, Lane.
Yes, sir.
Tomorrow, Lane, I'm going Bunbury.
Yes, sir.
I need you to pack all my dress clothes, my smoking jacket, all the Bunbury suits.
Yes, sir.
I hope tomorrow will be a fine day, Lane.
It never is, sir.
Lane, you're a perfect pessimist.
I do my best to give satisfaction, sir.
There's a sensible, intellectual girl. The only girl I've ever loved in my life. What on earth are you so amused at?
Oh,
poor friend Bunbury is going to get you into a serious scrape someday.
Oh, I love scrapes. They're the only things that are never serious.
Oh, that is nonsense. You never talk anything but nonsense.
Nobody ever does.
Cecily, Cecily, surely such a utilitarian occupation as the watering of flowers is rather Moulton's duty than yours, especially at a moment when intellectual pleasures await you. Your German grammar is on the table. Pray open it to page 15. Who repeat yesterday's lesson?
But I don't like German. It isn't at all a becoming language. I know perfectly well that I look quite plain after my German lesson.
Child, you know how anxious your guardian is that you should improve yourself in every way. He laid particular stress on your German as he was leaving for town yesterday. Indeed, he always lays stress on your German as he was leaving for town.
Dear Uncle Jack is so very serious. Sometimes I think he is so serious he could not be quite well.
Your guardian enjoys the best of health, and his gravity of demeanor is especially to be commended for one so comparatively young as he is. I know no one who has a higher sense of duty and responsibility.
I suppose that's why he often looks a little bored when we three are together.
Cecily, I am surprised at you. Mr. Worthing has many troubles in his life. Idle merriment and triviality would be out of place in his conversation. And you must remember his constant anxiety over that unfortunate young man, his brother.
I wish Uncle Jack could allow that unfortunate young man, his brother, to come down here sometime. We might have a good influence on him, Miss Prism. I know you certainly would. You know German and geology and things of that kind influence a man very much.
I am not sure that even I could have an effect on a character that, according to his own brother's admission, is irretrievably weak and vacillating. Indeed, I am not sure I would desire to reclaim him. I am not fond of this modern mania of turning bad people into good people at a moment's notice. As a man sows, so let him reap. Cecily, you must put away your diary. I really don't see why you should keep one at all.
I keep a diary to record all the wonderful secrets of my life. If I didn't write them down, I should probably forget all about them.
Memory, dear Cecily, is the diary that we all carry about with us.
Yes, but it records things that have never happened and couldn't possibly have happened. I believe memory is responsible for nearly all the 3-volume novels that Moody sends us.
Do not speak slightingly of the 3-volume novel, Cecily. I wrote one myself in earlier days.
Did you really, Miss Prism? Oh, how wonderfully clever you are. I hope it did not end happily. I don't like novels that end happily. They depress me so much.
Oh, well, the good ended happily and the bad unhappy. That is what fiction means.
I suppose so, but it seems very unfair. And was your novel ever published?
Alas, no. The manuscript was unfortunately abandoned. I use the word in the sense of lost or mislaid. Oh, but to your word, child, these speculations are profitless.
Oh, but here I see dear Dr. Chasuble coming across the garden.
Dr. Chasuble, this is indeed a pleasure.
Oh, and how are we this morning? Miss Prism, you are, I trust, well.
Miss Prism has just been complaining of a slight headache, Dr. Chasuble. I think it would do her much good to go for a short stroll with you in the park.
Cecily, I have mentioned nothing on the headache.
Yes, I know, dear Miss Prism, but I felt it instinctively. In fact, I was thinking about that and not about my German lesson when the rector came in.
Oh, I hope, Cecily, you are not inattentive.
Well, I'm afraid I am.
Oh, that is strange. Were I Miss Prism's pupil, I would hang upon her lips. I spoke metaphorically. My metaphor was drawn from bees. Mr. Worthing, I suppose, has not returned from town yet.
We do not expect him till Monday afternoon.
Ah, yes. He usually likes to spend his Sunday in London. He is not one of those whose sole aim is enjoyment, as by all accounts that unfortunate young man, his brother, seems to be. But I must not disturb Egeria and her pupil any longer.
Egeria? My name is Letitia, dear doctor.
A classical allusion, merely drawn from the pagan authors. I shall see you both no doubt at evensong.
I think, dear doctor, I will have a walk with you. I find I have a headache after all, and a walk might do it good.
Oh, with pleasure, Miss Prism, with pleasure. We might go as far as the schools and back.
Oh, that would be delightful. Cecily, you will read your political economy in my absence. The chapter on the fall of the rupee you may omit. I find it somewhat too sensational. Even these metallic problems have their melodramatic sides.
Horrid political economy, horrid geography, horrid German.
Mr. Ernest Worthing has just driven over from the station. He has brought his luggage with him.
Mr. Ernest Worthing, B4 the Albany W. Uncle Jack's brother. Did you tell him Mr. Worthing was in town?
Yes, miss. He seemed very much disappointed. I mentioned that you and Miss Prism were in the garden. He said he was anxious to speak to you privately for a moment.
Ask Mr. Ernest Worthing to come out here, and I suppose you had better see with the housekeeper about getting a room for him.
Yes, miss.
I've never met anyone truly wicked before. I feel rather frightened. I hope he doesn't look like everyone else. Oh, he does.
My little cousin Cecily, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm afraid you are under some strange mistake. I'm not little at all. In fact, I believe I'm more than usually tall for my age. But I am your cousin Cecily. And you, I see from your card, are my Uncle Jack's brother. My cousin Ernest, my wicked cousin Ernest.
Oh, I'm not really wicked at all. You mustn't think that I'm wicked, cousin Cecily.
Well, then you've certainly been deceiving us all in a very inexcusable manner. I hope you haven't been leading a double life, pretending to be wicked and being really good all along. That would be hypocrisy.
Of course, I've been rather reckless.
Well, I'm glad to hear it.
In fact, now that you mention it, I have been very bad in my own small way.
Well, I don't think you should be so proud of that, though I'm sure it must have been very pleasant.
It's much pleasanter being here with you.
But I don't understand how you're here at all. Uncle Jack will be back till Monday afternoon.
Oh, yes, it is a great disappointment. However, I'm obliged to go by the first train Monday morning. I have a business appointment I'm eager to miss.
Could you miss it anywhere but in London?
No, the appointment is in London.
Well, I do understand how important it is not to keep a business engagement if one wants to retain any sense of the beauty in life, but even so, I think you had better wait until Uncle Jack arrives. I know he wants to talk to you about your emigrating.
About my what?
You're emigrating. He's gone up to buy your outfit.
I wouldn't let Jack buy my outfit. He has absolutely no taste in neckties.
Well, I don't think you'll be needing a necktie. Uncle's sending you to Australia.
Australia? I'd sooner die.
Well, he said at dinner on Wednesday evening that you'd have to choose between this world, the next world, and Australia.
Well, the accounts I've heard of Australia and the next world are not particularly encouraging. I think this world is good enough for me, cousin Cecily.
Yes, but are you good enough for it?
I'm afraid I am not that, and so I might ask you to make it your mission to reform me this afternoon, if you don't mind.
I'm afraid I have no time this afternoon.
Well, then would you mind my reforming myself this afternoon?
Well, it seems rather quixotic of you, but I think you should try.
I will. Feel better already?
You're looking a little worse.
That is because I am hungry.
Oh, how thoughtless of me. I should have known that when one is going to lead an entirely new life, one requires regular and wholesome meals. Won't you come in?
Thank you, but may I have a buttonhole first? I never have any appetite until I've had a buttonhole first.
A Marshall meow?
No, I'd sooner have a pink rose.
Why?
Because you are like a pink rose, cousin Cecily.
Oh, I don't think you should say such things to me. Miss Prism never talks to me like that.
Then Miss Prism is a short-sighted old lady. You're the prettiest girl I ever saw.
Miss Prism says all good looks are a snare.
A snare that every sensible man would like to be caught in.
Well, I don't think I'd like to catch a sensible man. I should know what to talk to him about.
You are too much alone, Dr. Chasuble. You should get married. A misanthrope I can understand. A womanthrope, never.
Oh, believe me, I do not deserve so neologistic a phrase. The precept as well as the practice of the primitive church was distinctly against matrimony.
That is precisely why the primitive church has not lasted up to the present day. And you do not seem to realize, dear doctor, that by persistently remaining single, a man converts himself into permanent public temptation. Men should be more careful. This very celibacy leads weaker vessels astray.
But is a man not equally attractive when married?
No married man is ever attractive except to his wife.
And often I've been told, not even to her.
That depends on the intellectual centeredness of the woman. Maturity can be depended on. Ripeness can be trusted. Young women are green. I speak horticulturally. My metaphor was drawn from fruits. But where is Cecily?
Well, perhaps she followed us to the schools.
Mr. Worthing?
Mr. Worthing?
I have returned sooner than I expected. Dr. Chastel, I hope you are well.
Mr. Worthing, I trust this garb of woe does not betoken some terrible calamity.
My brother,
More shameful debts and extravagances.
Still leading his life of pleasure?
dead.
Your brother Ernest? Dead?
Quite dead.
What a lesson for him. I trust you'll profit by it.
Mr. Worthing, you have my sincerest condolences. You have at least the consolation of knowing that you are always most generous and forgiving of brothers.
Poor Ernest. He had many faults, but it is a sad, sad blow.
Very sad indeed. Were you with him in the end?
No, he died abroad, in Paris in fact. I received a telegram from the manager of the Grand Hotel last night.
Was the cause of death mentioned?
Severe chill, it seems.
As a man sows, so shall he reap.
Charity, dear Miss Prism, charity. None of us are perfect. I myself am peculiarly susceptible to drafts. Will the interment take place here?
No, he expressed a desire to be buried in Paris.
In Paris? Well, I fear that hardly points to any very serious state of mind at the last. You would, no doubt, wish for me to make some slight allusion to this tragic domestic affliction next Sunday. My sermon on the meaning of manna in the wilderness can be adapted to almost any occasion. Joyful or, as in the present case, distressing. I've preached it at harvest celebrations, christenings, confirmations, on days of humiliation, and festal days. The last time I delivered it was in the cathedral, as a charity sermon on behalf of the Society for the Prevention of Discontent among the Upper Orders. The bishop who was present was much struck by some of the analogies I drew.
Ah, that reminds me. You mentioned christenings, I think, Dr. Chastel. I suppose you know how to christen, all right? I mean, of course, you are continually christening, aren't you?
It is, I regret to say, one of the rector's most constant duties in this parish. I have often tried to speak to the poorer classes on the subject, but they don't seem to know what thrift is.
But is there any particular infant in whom you are interested, Mr. Worthing? Your brother was, I believe, unmarried, was he not?
Oh, yes.
People who live entirely for pleasure usually are.
But it is not for any child, dear doctor. I am very fond of children. No! The fact is, I would like to be christened myself this afternoon if you have nothing better to do.
No, not at all. The sprinkling and indeed the immersion of adults is a perfectly canonical practice.
Immersion?
Oh, you need have no apprehensions. Sprinkling is all that is necessary, or indeed, I think, advisable. Our weather is so changeable. At what hour would you wish the ceremony performed?
Well, I might trot round about 5 if that would suit you.
Perfectly, perfectly. I had 2 similar ceremonies to perform at that hour. A case of twins that occurred recently in one of the outlying cottages on your own estate. Poor Jenkins the carter, a most hard-working man.
Oh, I have no interest in being christened alongside other babies. It would be childish. Would 5:30 do?
Admirably, admirably. And now, Mr. Worthing, I will not intrude any longer into the house of sorrow. I merely beg you not to be too much bowed down by grief. What seem to us bitter trials are often blessings in disguise.
This seems to me a blessing of an extremely obvious kind.
Uncle Jack, I'm so pleased to see you back. But what horrid clothes you've got on. Do go and change.
My child, my child!
What's the matter, Uncle Jack? You look happy. You look as if you have a toothache when I've got such a surprise for you. Who do you think is in the dining room? Your brother!
Who?
Your brother Ernest. to tell him to come out, and you will shake hands with him. Won't you, Uncle Jack?
Hey. These are very joyful tidings.
After we had all been so resigned to his loss, his sudden return seems to me peculiarly distressing.
My brother is in the dining room? I don't know what it all means. I think it is perfectly absurd. Good heavens!
Brother John, I've come up from town to tell you that I'm very sorry for all the trouble I've given you, and I intend to lead a better life in the future.
Uncle Jack, you're not going to refuse your own brother's hand.
Nothing will induce me to take his hand. I think his coming down here disgraceful. He knows perfectly well why.
Uncle Jack, do be nice. There is something good in everyone. Ernest has just been telling me about his poor invalid friend, Mr. Bunbury, whom he goes to visit so often.
Oh, he's been talking about Bunbury, has he?
Yes, he's told me all about poor Mr. Bunbury and his terrible state of health.
Well, I won't have him talk to you about Bunbury or anything else. It is enough to drive one perfectly frantic.
I must say I find Brother John's coldness to me to be particularly painful. I was expecting a more enthusiastic welcome, especially since it's my first time being here.
Uncle Jack, if you don't shake hands with Ernest, I shall never forgive you.
Never.
Never, never, never.
Well, this will be the last time I shall ever do it.
It is pleasant, is it not, to see so perfect a reconciliation. I think we might leave the two brothers together.
Cecily, you will come with us.
Oh, certainly, Miss Prism. My little task of reconciliation is over.
You have done a beautiful action here today, dear child.
Let us not be premature in our judgments.
I feel very happy.
You young scoundrel, Algie. You must get out of this place as soon as possible. I don't allow any Bunburying here.
I put Mr. Earnest's things in the room next to yours, sir. I suppose that is all right?
What?
Mr. Earnest's luggage, sir. I've unpacked it and placed it in the room next to your own.
His luggage?
Yes, sir. 3 portmanteaus, a dressing case, 2 hat boxes, and a large luncheon baskets.
I'm afraid I can't stay more than a week this time.
Behrman, order the dog cart at once. Mr. Earnest has been suddenly called back to town.
Yes, sir.
What a fearful liar you are, Jack. I've not been called back to town at all.
Yes, you have.
I haven't heard anyone call me.
Your duty as a gentleman calls you back.
My duty as a gentleman has never interfered with my pleasures in the slightest degree.
I can quite understand that.
Well, Cecily is a darling.
You are not to talk of Miss Cardew that way. I don't like it.
Well, I don't like your clothes. You look perfectly ridiculous in them. Why don't you go up and change? It's perfectly childish to be in deep mourning for a man who's really staying in your house for more than a week as your guest. I call it grotesque.
You are not staying in my house for a week as a guest or anything else. You have got to leave. By the 4:05 train.
But I wouldn't leave you while you were in mourning. I would think it very unkind. If I were in mourning, I should suspect you would stay with me. It would be very unkind if you didn't.
Well, will you go if I change my clothes?
If you don't take too long, I've never seen anyone take so long to dress with so little result.
Well, in any case, it is better than always being overdressed as you are.
If I'm occasionally a little overdressed, I make up for it by being extremely overeducated.
Your vanity is ridiculous, your conduct an outrage, and your presence in my garden utterly absurd. However, you have got to catch the 4:05, and I hope you will have a pleasant journey back to town. This Bunburying, as you call it, has not been a great success for you.
I think it has been a great success. I'm in love with Cecily, and that is everything. But I must see her before I go and arrange for another Bunbury. Ah, there she is.
Oh, I feared Lou was coming back to water the roses. I thought you were with Uncle Jack.
He's gone to send for the dog cart.
Oh, is he going to take you for a nice drive?
He's sending me away.
Then we have got to part.
I'm afraid so. It is a very painful parting.
It's always very painful to part from anyone whom one has known for a very brief space of time. The absence of old friends one can endure with equanimity. But even a momentary separation from anyone to whom one has just been introduced is almost unbearable.
Thank you.
The dog cart is at the door, sir.
It can wait, Merriman, for 5 minutes.
Yes, miss.
Cecily, I hope I don't offend you if I state quite frankly and openly that you seem to me to be the visible personification of absolute perfection.
Oh, I think your frankness does you great credit, Ernest. If you allow me, I will copy your remarks into my diary.
Oh, do you really keep a diary? I'd give anything to look at it. May I?
Oh, no. It is simply a very young girl's record of her own thoughts and impressions, and consequently meant for publication. When it comes out in volume form, I hope you will order a copy. But pray, don't stop, Ernest. I delight in taking down from dictation. I've just reached absolute perfection. You can go on. I'm quite ready for more. Oh, don't cough, Ernest. When one is dictating, one should speak fluently and not cough. Besides, I don't know how to spell a cough.
Cecily, ever since I laid my eyes upon your incomparable, wonderful, inexpressible beauty, I've dared to love you wildly, passionately, devotedly, hopelessly.
Oh, I don't think you should tell me that you love me wildly, passionately, devotedly, hopelessly. Hopelessly doesn't seem to make much sense.
Cecily!
Does it?
The dog cart is waiting, sir.
Tell to come around next week at the same hour!
Yes, sir.
Uncle Jack would be very annoyed thinking you were staying on till next week at the same hour.
I don't care about Uncle Jack. I don't care about anybody in the whole world but you, Cecily. I love you. You will marry me, won't you?
Of course, silly boy. Why, we've been engaged for the last 3 months.
The last 3 months?
Yes, it'll be exactly 3 months on Thursday.
But how did we become engaged?
Well, ever since Uncle Jack confessed to us that he had a younger brother who was very wicked and bad, you of course became the chief topic of conversation between myself and Miss Prism, and one who is much talked about is always very attractive. One feels there must be something in him after all. I dare say it was foolish of me, but I fell in love with you, Ernest.
Darling, and when was the engagement actually settled?
On the 14th of February last, worn out by your entire ignorance of my existence, I decided to end the matter one way or another. So after a long struggle with myself, I accepted you under this dear old tree here. And the next day, I bought this little ring in your name, and this bangle with the lover's knot that I promised you always to wear.
Oh, did I get you this? It's very nice, isn't it?
Oh, you wonderfully good taste, Ernest. It's the excuse I've always given you for living such a bad life. Oh, and here's the box in which I kept all your letters.
My letters! But my dear, sweet, loving little Cecily, I've never written you any letters.
Oh, you need hardly remind me, Ernest. I remember only too well that I was forced to write all your letters for you. I always wrote 3 times a week, and sometimes oftener.
Oh, do let me read them, will you?
Oh, I couldn't possibly. They would make me far too conceited. The 3 that you wrote to me after I'd broken off the engagement are so beautiful and so badly spelled that even now I can hardly read them without crying a little.
But was the engagement ever broken off?
Why, yes, on the 22nd of March. You can see the entry if you'd like. Today, I broke off my engagement with Ernest. I feel it is better to do so. The weather continues charming.
But why on earth did you break off our engagement? What had I done? I had done nothing. I'm very much hurt indeed, Cecily, to hear that you broke off our engagement, especially when the weather was so charming.
Well, it would hardly have been a serious engagement if it hadn't been broken off at least once. But don't worry, I forgave you before the week was out.
Ah, Cecily, you perfect angel.
Oh, you dear romantic boy. I like your hair so much. It curls naturally, does it?
Of course, darling. With some help from others.
Oh, I'm so glad.
You won't ever break off our engagement again?
Well, I don't think I could break it off now that we've actually met. Besides, of course, there is the question of your name.
Of course.
Oh, you mustn't laugh at me, darling, but it's always been a girlish dream of mine to marry someone named Earnest. It's a name that inspires absolute confidence. I pity any poor married woman whose husband is not called Earnest.
But you don't mean to say you couldn't love me if I had some other name.
But what name?
Oh, any name you like. Algernon, for instance?
Oh, I don't like the name Algernon.
Oh, I don't really think that fair. It's not a bad name at all. In fact, it is rather an aristocratic name. More than half the chaps in the bankruptcy court are called Algernon. So, seriously, Cecily, if my name were Algie, couldn't you love me?
Well, I might respect you, Ernest. I might admire your character, but I fear I should not be able to give you my undivided attention.
Cecily, your rector here is, I suppose, thoroughly experienced in all the practices of the rites and ceremonials of the church?
Oh yes, Dr. Classical is a most learned man. He hasn't written a single book, so you can only imagine how much he knows.
I must see my once on most important christening. I mean most important business.
Oh,
I shan't be away more than half an hour.
well, considering we have been engaged since February the 14th, and we've only met today for the first time, I find it rather hard that you should leave me for so long a period as half an hour. Couldn't you make it 20 minutes?
I won't be waiting very long.
An impetuous boy. I like his hair so much. I must enter his proposal in my diary.
In Miss Fairfax, it's called Mr. Worthing. On very important business, Miss Fairfax states.
Is it Mr. Worthing in his library?
Mr. Worthing went over in the direction of the rectory some time ago.
Ask Miss Fairfax to come out here. Mr. Worthing is sure to be back soon. And you can bring tea.
Yes, miss.
Miss Fairfax, surely one of the many good elderly women with whom Uncle Jack is associated with in some philanthropic work in London. I don't quite like women so interested in philanthropy. So forward of them.
Miss Fairfax.
Pray allow me to introduce myself. My name is Cecily Cardew.
Ah, Cecily Cardew. What a sweet name. I can already tell we're going to be great friends. I like you already more than I can say. And my first impressions of people are never wrong.
Well, how nice of you to like me after we've known each other such a comparatively short time. Pray, do sit down.
I may call you Cecily, may I not?
With pleasure.
And you will always call me Gwendolyn, won't you?
If you wish.
It's all settled then, is it not?
Oh, I hope so.
Now may be an admirable opportunity for my introducing who I am. My father is Lord Bracknell. You have heard of Papa, I suppose.
I don't think so.
Papa is, I'm glad to say, almost entirely unknown outside the family circle. That is how I think it should be. The home does seem to me to be the proper social sphere for a man. And when a man begins to neglect his domestic duties, he becomes painfully effeminate, does he not? And I don't like that. It makes men so very attractive. Cecily, Mama, whose views on education are remarkably strict, has brought me up to be extremely short-sighted. It's part of her system. So, you don't mind if I look at you through my glasses, do you?
Oh, not at all, dear Gwendolyn. I'm very fond of being looked at.
You're here on a short visit, I suppose?
Oh, no, I live here.
Oh, your mother, no doubt, or some other female relative of advanced years resides here with you as well?
Oh, no, I have no mother, nor in fact, any relations.
Indeed.
My guardian, along with Miss Prism, has the arduous task of looking after me.
Your guardian?
Yes, I am Mr. Worthing's ward.
Oh, he never mentioned to me that he had a ward. How secretive of him. He grows more interesting hourly. But I'm not sure, however, that the news inspires me with feelings of unmixed delight. Cecily, I'm very fond of you. I've liked you ever since I met you. But now that I know that you're Mr. Worthing's ward, I can't help wishing that you were, well, just a few years older and not quite so alluring in appearance. In fact, if I may speak candidly.
Pray do. I think that when everyone has anything unpleasant to say, one should always be quite candid.
Well, to speak with perfect candor, Cecily, I wish you were fully 42 and more than usually playing for your age. Ernest has a strong, upright nature. He's the very soul of truth and respectability. But even men with the noblest possible moral character are still extremely susceptible to the influence of the physical charms of others. Modern, no less than ancient history provides us with countless painful examples of what I refer to. If it were not so, indeed, history would be quite unreadable.
Why, beg your pardon, Gwendolyn. Did you say Ernest?
Yes.
Oh, but it is not Mr. Earnest Worthing who is my guardian. It is his brother, his elder brother.
He never mentioned to me that he had a brother.
Oh, I'm sorry to say they have not been on good terms for some time.
That explains it. Come to think of it, I don't think I've heard any man refer to his brother. The subject seems to be quite distasteful to men. Cecily, you lifted a load from my mind. I was growing almost anxious. It would have been a shame if a cloud were to come across a friendship such as ours. Of course, you're quite sure that it is not Mr. Earnest Worthing who's your guardian.
Quite sure. In fact, I'm going to be his.
I beg your pardon.
Well, there's no reason why I should make a secret of it to you. Our little county newspaper is sure to chronicle the fact next Mr. Ernest Worthing and I are engaged to be married.
I'm afraid there must be some slight error. Mr. Ernest Worthing is engaged to me. The announcement is to appear this Saturday in the Morning Post at the latest.
You must be under some misconception. Ernest proposed to me exactly 10 minutes ago. You can see the entry here if you like.
It's certainly quite curious, for he proposed to me yesterday afternoon at 5:30. If you wish to verify the incident, pray do so. I never travel without my diary. One should always have something sensational to read on the trains. I'm sorry if it is any disappointment to you, dear Cecily, but I'm afraid that I have the prior claim.
You distress me more than I can say, dear Gwendolyn, if it were to cause you any mental or physical anguish. But I feel bound to point out that since Ernest has proposed to you, he has clearly changed his mind.
If the poor fellow has entrapped himself into any sort of foolish promise, I would consider it my duty to rescue him at once, and with a firm hand.
Whatever entanglement my poor boy may have gotten himself into, I'll be sure not to reproach him with it after we are married.
Do you allude to me, Miss Cardew, as an entanglement? You're presumptuous. On occasion, it becomes more than one's moral duty to speak one's mind. It becomes a pleasure.
Do you presume, Miss Fairfax, that I entrapped Ernest into an engagement? How dare you? This is no time for the shallow mask of manners. When I see a spade, I call it a spade.
I'm quite glad to say that I've never seen a spade. It is obvious that our social spheres have been drastically different.
Can I lay tea here, miss?
Yes, as usual.
Are there many interesting walks in the vicinity, Miss Cardew?
Oh yes, a great many. From the top one of the hill's quite close, one can see 5 counties.
5 counties. I don't think I should like that. I hate crowds.
I suppose that's why you live in town.
Quite a well-kept garden, this is Miss Cardew.
So glad you like it, Miss Fairfax.
I had no idea there were so many flowers in the country.
Why, the flowers are as common in the countryside as people are in London.
I don't know how anyone manages to live in the country, if anyone who's anyone does. The country always manages to bore me to death.
I suppose that's why they call it the agricultural depression, is it not? I hear the aristocracy are suffering from it very much at present. Almost an epidemic amongst them, so I've been told. May I offer you some tea, Miss Fairfax?
Yes, thank you. Detestable girl, but I require tea. Sugar? No, sugar is not fashionable anymore.
Cake or bread and butter?
Bread and butter, please. Cake is rarely seen in the best of households nowadays.
Hand that to Miss Fairfax.
You have filled my tea with lumps of sugar, and though I most distinctly asked for bread and butter, you have given me cake. I am known for the extraordinary gentleness of my disposition and the extreme sweetness of my nature, but I warn you, Miss Cardew, you may go too far.
To save my poor, innocent, trusting boy from the machinations of any other girl, there are no lengths to which I would not go.
From the moment I met you, I knew you were false and deceitful. And my first impressions of people are very different.
It appears to me that I'm trespassing on your most valuable time, Miss Fairfax. I'm sure you have many other calls of similar character to make in the neighborhood.
Gwendolyn,
Ernest,
darling!
my own Ernest, a moment. May I ask if you're engaged to be married to this young lady?
To dear little Cecily? Of course not. What could have put such an idea into your pretty little head?
Thank you. You may.
I knew there must have been some misconception, Miss Fairfax. The gentleman whose arm is at present around your waist is my dear guardian, Mr. John Worthing.
I beg your pardon.
This is Uncle Jack.
Jack. Oh,
Here is Ernest.
Cecily, my own love.
Oh, a moment, Ernest. May I ask, are you engaged to this young lady?
What young lady? Good heavens, Gwendolyn.
Yes, to the heavens, Gwendolyn. I mean, to Gwendolyn.
Of course not. What could have put such an idea into a pretty little head?
Thank you. You may.
I knew there must have been some slight error. The gentleman who's now embracing you is my cousin, Mr. Algernon Moncrief.
Algernon Moncrief? Are you called Algernon?
I cannot deny it.
Oh.
Is your name really
John?
I could deny it if I liked. I could deny anything if I liked. But my name certainly is John. It has been John for years.
It appears a gross deception has been practiced on both of us.
Oh, my poor wounded Cecily.
My sweet wronged Gwendolyn.
You will call me sister, will you not?
There's just one question I would like to be allowed to ask my guardian.
Yes, Mr. Worthing, there's just one question we would like to put upon you. Where is your brother Ernest? We are both engaged to be married to your brother Ernest, so it's of some importance that we know where he is at present.
Gwendolyn, Cecily, it is very painful for me to be forced to speak the truth. It is the first time in my life that I've ever been reduced to such a painful position. And I'm really quite inexperienced in doing anything of the kind. However, I will tell you quite frankly that I have no brother Ernest. I have no brother at all. I have never had a brother in my life, and I certainly have not the smallest intention of ever having one in the future.
No brother at all?
None.
Had you never a brother of any kind?
Never. Not even of any kind.
I'm afraid, dear Cecily, that neither of us is engaged to be married to anyone.
It's not a very pleasant position for a young girl suddenly to find herself in now, is it?
No, let us venture into the house. They will hardly dare come after us in there.
No, men are so cowardly, aren't they?
This ghastly state of things is what you call bun-burying, I suppose?
Yes, and a perfectly wonderful Bunbury is too. The most wonderful Bunbury I've ever had.
Well, you've no right whatsoever to bun-bury here.
That's absurd. One has a right to Bunbury wherever one chooses. Every serious Bunbury knows that.
Serious bun-bury is good heavens!
Well, one must be serious about something to find any satisfaction in life. I happen to be serious about Bunbury. What on earth you are serious about, I haven't got the slightest idea. About everything I should fancy, you have such an absolutely trivial nature.
Well, the only small satisfaction I have in the whole of this wretched business is that your poor friend Bunbury is quite exploded. You won't be able to run down to the country quite so often as you used to, dear Algy. And a very good thing, too.
Your brother's looking a little off color, isn't he, dear Jack? Looks like you won't be able to disappear down to London quite so often as your wicked custom was. Not a bad thing either.
As for your conduct toward Miss Cardew, I think you're taking in a sweet, simple, innocent girl like that is quite inexcusable, to say nothing of the fact that she is my ward.
Well, I can see no possible defense for your deceiving a thoroughly experienced, brilliant, clever young lady like Miss Fairfax. To make no mention of the fact that she's my cousin.
I wanted to be engaged to Gwendolyn, that is all. I love her.
Well, I simply want to be engaged to Cecily. I adore her.
There is certainly no chance of your marrying Miss Cardew.
I don't think there's much likelihood, Jack, in your and Miss Fairfax being united.
Well, that is no business of yours.
Well, if it was my business, I wouldn't talk about it. Only people like stockbrokers do that, and then only dinner parties.
How can you sit there, calmly eating muffins, when we are in this horrible trouble? I can't make out! You seem to me to be perfectly heartless!
Well, I can't eat muffins in an agitated manner. One would probably get on my cuffs. One must always eat muffins quite calmly, which is the only way to eat them.
I think it's perfectly heartless for eating muffins at all under the circumstances.
When I'm in trouble, eating is the only thing that consoles me. In fact, when I'm in really great trouble, I refuse everything except food and drink. Right now, I'm eating muffins because I'm unhappy. Besides, I'm particularly fond of muffins.
Well, that is no reason for you to eat them all in that greedy way.
I wish the one had some tea cake. I don't like tea cake.
For goodness sake, I suppose a man may be able to eat his own muffins in his own garden.
But you just said it's perfectly heartless of me eating muffins.
I said it's perfectly heartless of you under the circumstances. That is a very different thing.
That may be, but the muffins are the same.
Algy, I wish to goodness you would go.
You can't possibly ask me to go without having some dinner first. I never go without dinner. Nobody ever does except vegetarians and people like that. Besides, I just made arrangements with Dr. Chaucer to be christened at 5:45 under the name of Earnest.
My dear fellow, the sooner you give up that nonsense, the better. I have made arrangements myself with Dr. Chasuble to be christened this morning, and I naturally will take the name Earnest. Gwendolyn would wish it. We can't both be christened Earnest. It's absurd. Besides, I have the perfect right to be christened. There is no evidence at all that I have ever been christened by anybody. I should think it extremely probable that I never was, and so does Dr. Chasuble. It is entirely different in your case. You have been christened already.
Yes, but I've not been christened for years.
Yes, but you have been christened. That is the important thing.
Quite so I know that my constitution can handle it. If you're not quite sure about your ever having been christened, I think it very dangerous for you to venture upon it now. It might make you very unwell. You could hardly have forgotten that. Someone very closely connected with you was recently swept away in Paris by a severe chill.
But you said yourself that a severe chill was not hereditary.
Oh, it used to be, but I dare say it is now. Science is always making wonderful improvements in things.
Oh, that is nonsense.
Jack, you're at the muffins again! I wish you wouldn't! I told you that's ridiculous bottom muffins! There's only 2 left!
But I hate tea cake.
Then why on earth are you allowed to be served in your house when I tease hospitality?
Algie, I have already told you to go. I don't want you here. Why don't you go?
Because I haven't finished my tea yet, and there's still 1 muffin left.
Ah!
Seems to suggest that they have some sense of shame.
They're eating muffins. That looks like repentance.
They aren't paying us any attention. Couldn't you cough?
But I haven't to cough.
Oh, they're looking at us. What effrontery.
Oh, they're coming towards us. How forward of them.
Let us preserve a dignified silence.
Certainly, it is the only thing to do now.
This dignified silence produces an unpleasant effect.
Most distasteful one.
But we must not be the first to speak.
Certainly not.
Mr. Worthing, I have something very particular to ask you, much depends on your reply.
Gwendolyn, your common sense is invaluable. Mr. Moncrief, kindly answer me the following question. Why do you pretend to be my Uncle Jack's brother?
In order that I may have an opportunity of meeting you.
That certainly seems a very satisfactory explanation, does it not?
Yes, dear, if you can believe him.
I don't, but that does not affect the wonderful beauty of his answer.
True. In matters of great importance, style, not sincerity, is the thing. Mr. Worthing, may I ask you what explanation you can offer for pretending to have a brother? Was it so that you might have more opportunities of coming to town to see me?
Can you doubt it, Miss Fairfax?
I have the gravest doubts on the subject, but I intend to crush them. Now is not the time for German skepticism. Their answers seem particularly satisfactory, especially Mr. Worthing's. His seems to have the stamp of truth upon it.
I am more than content with what Mr. Moncrief has said. His voice alone inspires one with absolute credulity.
So, do you think we should forgive them?
Yes, I mean, no.
True, there are principles at stake that cannot be surrendered. Which of us should tell them it's not a pleasant task?
Could we not both speak at once?
An excellent idea. I nearly always speak at the same time as other people. Will you take the time from me?
Certainly.
Your Christian names are still an insuperable barrier, that is all.
Our Christian names? Is that all? We're going to be christened this afternoon.
For me, you're prepared to do this terrible thing?
I am.
To please me, you are ready to face this fearful ordeal?
I am.
How absurd to talk about the equality of the sexes. Where matters of self-sacrifice are concerned, men are infinitely beyond us.
We are.
Of which we women know absolutely nothing.
Darling.
Darling.
Lady Bracknell.
Good heavens!
Gwendolyn, what does this mean?
Merely that I am engaged to be married.
You must come here. Sit down immediately. Hesitation of any kind is a sign of mental decay in the young, physical weakness in the old. Apprised, sir, of my daughter's sudden flight by her trusty maid, whose confidence I purchased by means of a small coin, I followed her at once by a luggage train. Her unhappy father is, I am glad to report, under the impression that she's attending a more than usually lengthy lecture by the University Extension Scheme on the influence of a permanent income on thought. I do not propose to undeceive him. Indeed, I have never undeceived him on any matter. I would consider it wrong. But you will, of course, understand that all communication between yourself and my daughter will cease immediately from this moment. On this point, as on all points, I defer.
I am engaged to be married to Gwendolyn, Lady Bracknell.
You are nothing of the kind, sir. And now, as regards Algernon. Algernon!
Miss Aunt Augusta?
May I ask if it is in this house that your invalid friend, Mr. Bunbury, resides?
Oh no, Bunbury doesn't reside here. Bunbury's somewhere else at present. In fact, Bunbury is dead.
When did Mr. Bunbury die? His death must have been so sudden.
Oh, I killed Bunbury this afternoon. Bunbury died.
What did he die of?
Bunbury, oh, he was quite exploded.
Look! Is he the victim of some revolutionary outrage? I was not aware that Mr. Bunbury was interested in social legislation. If so, he is well punished for his morbidity.
No, what I mean is that Bunbury was found out. The doctors found out that Bunbury could not live, and so Bunbury died. That's what I mean.
He seems to have had great confidence in the opinion of his physicians. But I am glad, however, that he came at the last to some definite conclusion and acted under proper medical advice. Now that we've finally got rid of this Mr. Bunbury, I must ask you, Mr. Worthing, who is this young person whose hand my nephew Algernon is now holding in what seems to me a peculiarly unnecessary manner?
That lady is Miss Cecily Cardew, my ward.
I'm engaged to be married to Cecily, Aunt Augusta.
I beg your pardon.
Mr. Moncrief and I are engaged to be married, Lady Bracknell.
I do not know whether there is anything peculiarly exciting in the air of this part of Hertfordshire, but the number of engagements that go on seems to me considerably above the proper average statistics that lay out for our guidance. I think some preliminary inquiry on my part would not be out of place. Mr. Worthing, is Miss Cardew at all connected to any of the larger railway stations in London? I merely desire information. Until yesterday, I had no idea there were any families or persons whose origin was a terminus.
Miss Cecily Cardew is the granddaughter of the late Mr. Thomas Cardew of 149 Belgrave Square, Gervase Park, York, Surrey, and the score in Fifeshire, NB.
That is not unsatisfactory. A ready address always inspires confidence, even in tradesmen. But what proof have I of their authenticity?
I have carefully preserved the court guides of the period. They are open to your inspection, Lady Bracknell.
I have known strange errors in that publication.
Miss Cardew's family solicitors are Messrs. Markby, and Markby.
Markby, and Markby, a firm with the very highest position in their profession. I have even heard from one of the Mr. Markbys is occasionally to be seen at dinner parties. So far, I'm satisfied.
How extremely kind of you. I also have in my possession, you will be pleased to hear, certificates of Miss Cardew's birth, baptism, whooping cough, registration, vaccination, confirmation, and the measles, both the German and the English variety.
How different incident, so perhaps too much excitement for a young girl. I myself am not in favor of premature experiences. Come, dear, we've already missed several trains. The time approaches for our departure. We have not a moment to lose. Now, as a matter of form, Mr. Worthing, I must ask you whether Miss Cardew has any little fortune.
Oh, about £130,000 in the funds. That is all. Goodbye, Lady Bracknell. So pleased to have seen you.
A moment, Mr. Worthing, £130,000 in the funds! Miss Cardew looks to me a most attractive young lady, now that I really get the chance to look at her. Do girls of the present day have any really solid qualities, the kind that improve over time? We live, I regret to say, in an age of surfaces. Come here, dear. Oh, pretty child, your dress is sadly simple, and your hair looks almost as nature had reflected. But we can soon alter all that. A thoroughly experienced trench maid produces a truly young Lady Lansing, and for 3 months, her own husband did not know her.
And after 6 months, nobody knew her.
Kindly turn around here. Oh, no, the side view is what I'm after. Oh, yes, just as I expected. There are distinct social possibilities in your profile. The 2 weak points of our age are its want of principle and its want of profile. She's a little higher, dear. Yes, style depends largely how the chin is worn. They are worn quite high just present. Algernon,
Yes, Aunt Augusta?
there are distinct social possibilities in Miss Hardy's profile.
Cecily's the sweetest, dearest, prettiest girl in the whole world, and I don't care 2 pence about social possibilities.
Never speak disrespectfully of society, Algernon. Only people who can't get into that. Now, dear child, of course you know that Algernon has nothing but his debts to depend upon. I'm not in favor of mercenary marriages. When I married Lord Bracknell, I had no fortune of any kind. But I never dreamt of allowing that to stand in my way. Well, I suppose I must give my consent.
Thank you, Aunt Augusta.
Cecily, you may kiss me.
Thank you, Lady Bracknell.
And you may address me as Aunt Augusta for the future.
Thank you, Aunt Augusta.
I think marriage had better take place quite soon. To speak frankly, I'm not in favor of long engagements. They give people the opportunity to learn each other's character before marriage, which is never advised.
Pardon me, Lady Bracknell, for interrupting you, but this engagement is quite out of the question. I am Miss Cardew's guardian, and she cannot marry without my consent until she comes of age. That consent I absolutely decline to give.
On what grounds, sir? Algernon is an extremely, I might even say an ostentatiously eligible young man. He has nothing, but he looks everything.
It pains me very much to have to speak frankly to you, Lady Bracknell, about your nephew. But the fact is that I do not approve at all of his moral character. I suspect him of being untruthful.
Untruthful? My nephew, Algernon, impossible. He is an Oxonian.
I fear there can be no possible doubt about the matter. This afternoon, during my temporary absence in London, on an important question of romance, he obtained admission to my house under the false pretense of being my brother. Under an assumed name, he drank, I've just been informed by my butler, my entire bottle of Perrier Jouet Brut 89, a wine I was specially reserving for myself. Continuing in his disgraceful deception, he succeeded in alienating the affections of my only ward. Subsequently, he stayed to tea and devoured every single muffin. And what makes his conduct all the more heartless is that he was perfectly well aware from the first that I have no brother, that I never had a brother, and that I don't intend to have a brother, not even of any kind. I distinctly told him so myself yesterday afternoon.
Ahem, Mr. Worthing, after careful consideration, I have decided entirely to overlook my nephew's conduct to you.
That is very generous of you, Lady Bracknell. My decision, however, is unalterable. I decline to give my consent.
Come here, dear. How old are you, child?
Well, I'm really only 18, but I always admit to 20 at evening parties.
You are perfectly right to make some small alteration. A woman should never be quite honest about her age, so calculated. 18, but only to 20 at evening parties. Well, it won't be long before you are of age and free from the restraints of tutelage, so I don't think that your guardian's consent is, after all, a matter of any importance.
Pardon me, Lady Bracknell, for interrupting you again, but according to the terms of her grandfather's will, Miss Cardew does not legally come of age till she is 35.
That does not seem to me to be a grave objection. 35 is a very attractive age. London society is full of women who, of their own free choice, have remained 35 for years. Lady Doubleton is an instance in point. To my knowledge, she has been 35 ever since arriving at the age of 40, which was many years ago now. I see no reason why our dear Cecily should not be even more beautiful at the age you mentioned than she is now. And there will be a large accumulation of property.
Oh, Algie, could you really wait for me till I was 35?
Of course I could, Cecily. You know I could.
Yes, I knew instinctively, but I couldn't wait all that time. I hate waiting even 5 minutes for anybody. Always makes me rather cross. I myself am not punctual, I know, but I like punctuality in others, so waiting, even for marriage, is quite out of the question.
Then what is to be done?
Oh, I don't know, Mr. Moncrief.
My dear Mr. Worthing, as Miss Carter has stated positively that she cannot wait until the age you mentioned, which seems to me to show a somewhat impatient nature, I beg of you to reconsider your decision.
But, Lady Bracknell, the matter is entirely in your own hands. The moment you consent to my marriage with Gwendolyn, I will gladly allow your nephew to form an alliance with my ward.
You must be quite aware that this is out of the question.
And a passionate celibacy is all that any of us can look forward to.
That is not the destiny I'm supposed to represent. Algernon, of course, will decide for himself. Oh, come, dear, we've already missed 5, if not 6 trains. To miss any more might expose us to comment on the platform.
Everything is quite ready for the christenings.
Christening, sir, is that not a bit premature?
Both of these men have expressed interest in immediate baptism.
Their age, the idea is grotesque and irreligious, Algernon. I forbid you to be baptized. I won't hear of such excesses. Lord Bracknell will be highly displeased to learn this is the way in which you wasted your time and your money.
Am I to understand, then, that there will be no christenings at all this afternoon?
I don't think that, as things are now, it would be of much practical value to either of us, Dr. Chastity.
I am grieved to hear such sentiments from you, Mr. Worthing. They savor of the heretical views of the Anabaptists, views which I myself have completely refuted in 4 of my unpublished sermons. However, as the present mood seems to be one peculiarly secular, I will return to the church at once. Indeed, I have just been informed by the pew opener that for the last hour and a half Miss Prism has been waiting for me in the vestry.
Miss Prism, did I hear you mentioning Miss Prism?
Yes, Lady Bracknell, I'm on my way to join her.
Pray, allow me to detain you for a moment. This may prove a matter of vital importance to Lord Bracknell and myself. Now, is this Miss Prism a female of repellent aspect and remotely connected to education?
She is the most cultivated of ladies, and the very picture of respectability.
It is obviously the same person. Now, what position does she hold in your household?
I am a celibate, madam.
Miss Prism, Lady Bracknell, is Miss Cardew's esteemed governess and valued companion.
Well, in spite of what I hear of her, I must see her at once. Let her be sent for.
Oh, she approaches. She is nigh.
I was told that you expected me in the vestry, dear Canon. I have been waiting there for 1 hour and 3/4. Prism! Come here, Prism. Prism! Where is that baby? 28 years ago, Prism, you left Lord Bracknell's house number 104, Upper Grosvenor Street, in charge of a perambulator containing a baby of the male sex. You never returned. A few weeks later, through the elaborate investigation of Metropolitan Police, the perambulator was found alone at midnight, standing on a remote corner of Bayswater. It contained the manuscript of a 3-volume novel of more than usually revolting sentimentality. But the baby was not there. Prism, where is that baby?
Lady Bracknell, I admit with shame that I do not know. I only wish I did. The plain facts of the case are these. On the morning of the day which you mentioned, a day that is forever branded in my memory, I intended to take the baby out as usual in its perambulator. I also had with me a somewhat old but capacious handbag in which I intended to place the work of fiction I had been writing in my few unoccupied hours. In a moment of mental abstraction, for which I never can forgive myself, I placed the manuscript in the bassinet and deposited the baby in the handbag.
But where did you deposit the handbag?
Do not ask me, Mr. Worthing.
Miss Prism, this is a matter of no small importance. I insist on knowing where you deposited the handbag that contained that infant.
I left it in the cloakroom of one of the larger railway stations of London.
What railway station?
Victoria! The Bright Line!
Pardon me, I must retire to my room for a moment. Gwendolyn, wait here for me.
If you're not too long, I will wait for you all my life.
What do you think this means, Lady Bracknell?
I dare not even suspect, Dr. Chasuble. I need hardly tell you that in fairness of high position, strange coincidences are not supposed to occur. They are hardly considered a thing.
My guardian appears strangely agitated.
Guardian has a very emotional nature.
This noise is extremely unpleasant. It sounds as if you were having an argument. I dislike arguments of any kind. They are always vulgar and often convincing.
It is stopped now.
I wish you would arrive at some conclusion.
The suspense is terrible. I hope it will last.
Is this the handbag, Miss Prism? Examine it carefully before you speak. The happiness of more than one life depends on your answer.
Well, yes, it seems to be mine. Yes, here is the injury it received from the upsetting of a Gower Street omnibus in younger and happier days. Oh, and here is the stain on the lining caused by the explosion of a temperance beverage, an incident that occurred in Leamington. Oh, and here on the lock are my initials. I had forgotten that in an extravagant mood I had them placed there. The bag is undoubtedly mine. I am delighted to have it so unexpectedly restored to me. It has been a great inconvenience being without it all these years.
Miss Prism, more is restored to you than this handbag. I was the baby you placed in it.
You?
Yes, mother!
Mr. Worthing! I am unmarried.
Unmarried? I do not deny that is a serious blow. But who has the right to cast a stone against one who has suffered? Should not repentance wipe away an act of folly? Why should there be one law for men and another for women? Mother, I forgive you.
Mr. Worthing, there is some error. There is a lady who can tell you who you really are.
Lady Bracknell, would you kindly inform me who I am?
I am afraid the news I have to give you will not altogether please you. You are the son of my poor sister, Mrs. Moncrief, and consequently Algernon's elder brother.
Algy's elder brother? Then I have a brother after all. I knew I had a brother. I always said I had a brother. Cecily, how could you have ever doubted that I had a brother? Miss Prism, my unfortunate brother. Dr. Chasuble, my unfortunate brother. Gwendolyn, my unfortunate brother. Algy, you young scoundrel, you will have to treat me with more respect in the future. You have never treated me like a brother in all your life.
Not till today, old boy, I admit. Though I did try my best, however, I was out of practice.
My own one, but what own are you? What is your Christian name now that you've become someone else?
Good heavens, I had quite forgotten about that point. Your decision on the subject of my name is irrevocable, I suppose?
I never change, except in my affections.
Oh, what a noble nature you have, Gwendolyn.
Then the matter must be settled at once. Aunt Augusta, a moment. At the time I had been deposited in the handbag, had I been christened already?
Every luxury money to buy, including christening, had been lavished upon you by your fond and doting parents.
Then I had been christened. That is settled. Now, what Christian name was I given? Let me know the worst.
Oh, well, being the eldest son, you were naturally christened after your father.
Yes, but what was my father's Christian name?
I cannot at the present moment recall the general's Christian name, though I am certain he had one. He was eccentric, I admit, but only in later years, and that was the result of the Indian climate, and marriage, and indigestion, things of that nature.
Algy, can't you recollect what our father's Christian name was?
My dear boy, we were never even on speaking terms. He died before I was a year old.
His name would appear in the army lists of the period, I suppose.
The general was essentially a man of peace, except for his domestic life. However, I'm sure his name is any military directives.
The army records of the period are here. These delightful records should have been my Generals, Malum, Moxbum, Magley. What ghastly names they have. Mixby, Mobbs, Moncrief, Lieutenant, 1840, Captain, Lieutenant Colonel, Colonel, General, 1869. Christian names, Earnest John. always told you, Gwendolyn, my name was Ernest. Well, my name is Earnest, after all. I mean, it naturally is Ernest.
Yes, I remember now that the general's Christian name was Earnest. I knew I had some particular reason for disliking the name.
Ernest, I knew from first that you could have no other name.
Gwendolyn, it is a terrible thing for a man to find that all his life he has been speaking nothing but the truth.
Yes, for I feel that you're sure to change.
Gwendolyn, my own one!
Letitia!
Frederick at last! Sign of triviality!
On the contrary, Aunt Augusta, and now realizing for the first time in my life the vital importance of being earnest.